Meantime, speaking of where Adam Bandt was this weekend, in the port of Newcastle in New South Wales, well, many people decided to turn up to send a message about climate change, that Australia shouldn't be sending fossil fuel around the world. And they were all very excited about how many people had turned up. And yes, they delayed coal ships coming in or out of the port of Newcastle for a grand total of 2 days. Oh, wow, the world has learnt its lesson. Unsurprisingly, the organisers say 4 trillion people turned up and it was the greatest moment since Santa gave out his first present.
Unless there is a mass movement of ordinary people like me, the future that we're looking at is short and bleak.
Existential dread is real. They make movies about it now.
We're at kind of the edge of the cliff. In fact, we're not even at the cliff, we're falling. We're starting to free fall.
Projects like offshore wind, like new solar farms, are a priority at the moment.
Australia produces 1% of climate emissions. And their argument is that what we dig up and send around the rest of the world, well, then that should also count for us as well. But even then, China is 30%. The developing world is the rest of what makes up half of what is bilged into the air each and every year. Adam Bandt, again, finding his way to connect with what he believes will be future Forever Greens voters. Well, he was there. Someone, of course, should point out that the clothes that he was wearing, the life jacket that he was wearing and the thing he was paddling around in, none of it grows on a tree.
The feeling here is just absolutely electric. Like, there's nothing like people power as a good antidepressant when, governments won't act, people will, and it feels great to be part of it.
I say all of this is pointless because the coal drop-offs will start again this week. Oh, but our point was made. Now, apparently, many people have been arrested in the past couple of hours because they were supposed to get out of the way by the time nightfall hit in Newcastle. Those people have now been arrested. And remember, interrupting things like ports, very significant offences in New South Wales. Now, no doubt, they, like many other people who have closed roads or tried to jump onto trains, will go before judges that will turn around and say, I understand, it's a very painful situation. But still, there'll be some difficulties for those who decided to stay on. Meantime, former Defence Minister, former Agriculture Minister, Joel FitzGibbin, who now is part of the forestry lobby, well, he's turned around and had a go at the Labor Party, who, in many ways, fund the very same organisations that go off to court to have a go at the resources sector, who, of course, end up funding the federal government via their taxes. The attacks come after Labor fulfilled its electoral promise to reverse funding cuts to the Environmental Defenders Office, providing $10 million in funding to the Community Legal Aid Centre over the forward estimates. The EDO is a legal organisation well known for its environmental advocacy, running high-profile cases against coal and gas. Mr FitzGibbin, who is the chair of Australian Forest Products Association, said it made no sense for the government to fund the activists to take legal action against the very government that gave them the money. Meantime, Blackout Bowen is now blank cheque Bowen when it comes to the projects that he's willing to fund to get us to the great green dream of 80% renewables by 2030. Now, as you know, he's been asked how much is this scheme going to cost. No answer whatsoever. The estimates, though, in the Financial Review, tens of billions of dollars, which is exactly what we told you, about at least $50 billion. Let's see what answers he has tomorrow in the Parliament, when no doubt he is asked by Peter Dutton.
The government's energy policy continues to drive up inflation. The Prime Minister needs to stand up to take responsibility for the commitments that he gave in the election. The 97 times that he promised that he'd reduce electricity prices, he knew at that time he wasn't telling the truth.
And of course, the big idea that the alternative Prime Minister will take to the next election is that nuclear energy is part of the solution for Australia. And new polling, yes, advocacy polling, but still suggests that only 1 in 5 people in Australia actually oppose the moratorium that stops us even being able to look at this as a potential form of zero emissions energy.